Williams veers left, pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11, 1:09. Now SGA probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Huntsinger at Thunder Chats. We're part of the Believe Network. Of this podcast brought to you by betonline.ag. Now that's out of the way, I'm joined by my co-host here, the man, myth, legend, the Underscone. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Yeah, man. The playoffs right around the corner. A week from today, the regular season is going to be over, and I have no idea what the standings are going to look like, which is super fun, actually. A quick update for y'all, the one I was giving Dylan right beforehand. So a lot shifted in the West today. It's Thunder, Rockets, Lakers top three, like it was coming into the day. Nuggets have fallen down to number 4, or not fallen down. They've been kind of around there, but they're number 4 right now. The Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies are all tied for 5 through 8, 18 games back of us. Clippers 5, Warriors 6, Wolves 7, Grizzlies 8, and then the Kings and the Mavericks swap spots. Mavs were 9, now they're 10. Kings are now 9 after being the Cavaliers again today, sweeping the season series against the Cavs, which is crazy. Shout to Sacramento for that one, which should tell you it's anybody can beat anybody on any given night in the league type of thing, which I think is important for Thunder fans to remember at the moment. But yeah, overall, pretty fun time in the NBA. I know Thunder fans aren't having the best time, but you got to kind of remember where we're at this point, and I think you'll be all good. So today I feel like it's just a little bit of calm down sesh needed for the Thunder fan base.
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously, it's kind of like I said. Obviously, like we're in a rough position because it's annoying because we know what this team is capable of, and like specifically against the Rockets, it just felt like. I don't want to say it felt like we didn't care, but like it felt like you could tell how much more the Rockets cared. And I think that the reasons we lost the games are 4 different reasons. Like I said, with the Rockets, I just don't think like we came out with the effort, the energy, like we cared as much. Like the Rockets clearly wanted this game. They wanted to go out there and make a statement. The Lakers, it's kind of a little bit of that, but at the same time, I feel like we got up for this game a little bit more. It's just that the Lakers shot, as we were saying before the podcast, like historically great. And, and then, we'll theorize a little bit more like, why that game kind of went the way it did. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't bring myself to like get legitimately upset or worried about 2 regular season games in April after we have 64 wins. We had the West completely locked up. And the Cavs keep losing. Like we've got to win 2 of our next 4 games in order to lock up the top record in the playoffs. Shout out Stephen Dolan. He's the one that said that. And we play the Lakers, the Suns, the Pelicans, and the Jazz. I feel pretty good about winning two more of those games.
Yeah. It's also just not even a matter of not caring. I think it's also, we've done this forever. It's been a thing that people have moaned and whined about with Mark over the past couple of years, where it's like, we'll play guys like last year with some Ousmane Dieng minutes. We just try him at random spots and like play in the center sometimes. Shout out to Ooze. Get well soon, my guy. This year, like Dylan Jones is coming in some minutes when people have been like, why is Dylan Jones and this and that? Mark's an experimenter. And we have, a 13.5 game lead on the 1 seed. It's been locked up forever. Like, specifically today against the Rockets, or not against the Rockets, against the Lakers, and also a little bit against the Rockets, played the double big thing. And it didn't always look great in those 2 games. There have been a lot of moments, actually more so this season than not. It's crushed teams. Teams have really struggled against the double bigs. But this game today, specifically against the Lakers, it didn't look great. The minutes, I haven't checked actually what the net rating was specifically over this game. I can actually try and pull it up real quick. But
I can do it while you talk.
Okay. But yeah, it was not a great overall performance from the double bigs. It seemed kind of clunky out there. It wasn't really working. I felt like we were better in single big looks, and that's fine. Like, I'd rather figure that out now and we end up losing than we have to try and figure it out in the playoffs against the Lakers. This right now it's all house money at the moment. It doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter. It's not like we're going to start down 0-1 or lose home court advantage in a series against the Lakers. It doesn't matter. We're only going to play 3 teams in this West, and I have no idea who it's going to be with the way the standings are going. So yeah, I mean, we're going to experiment, and it's fine if we lose games. I know we haven't lost much this year. Actually, this is the first losing streak we've had since Chet was hurt and Ihart was also out. Like when we were playing J-Dub at center, and we lost back-to-back games. I think it was against the Spurs and the Mavericks. It's the first 2-game losing streak we've had this entire season. So if you're freaking out, I promise you it's not that deep. I promise you it's not. People are going to say stuff. Shannon Sharp's going to do his whole this, Lakers in 5 thing. That's going to be on your timeline. People are going to say, oh, it's over for the Thunder. You know, I was right about them. And none of this matters except the playoffs at this moment. Like, we're kind of just seeing how it goes. It would have been cool to win 70 games. It would have been cool to win 69, 68, 67. Like, it doesn't matter at this moment, you know? As long as we get to the playoffs healthy, which is the ultimate goal, then we're perfectly fine. And also, you've got to remember, it is really any team can beat anybody on any given night type of league. Specifically, when you are playing a good team, 2 good teams, like the Rockets and the Lakers. Yeah, I felt like the main thing was that our defense wasn't really as sharp as usual. I felt like our offense was also not really where it needed to be. And I think that was partially because we let ourselves get thrown out of whack by the defense. Both teams start off blistering hot shooting the basketball. The Rockets couldn't miss. It felt like Amon Thompson was, I think, 2 of 2 from 3. Jayshawn Tate was 3 of 4 from the outside. Like, sometimes that's just the way it's going to go in the NBA. And today with the Lakers, there were a few times where the threes were open and it didn't feel like our defense was the best. But I mean, Luka hit some really tough step back threes. You had some really tough ones. Like Dorian Finney-Smith has not shot well for a lot of his time over the past month or so, and he shot lights out tonight. And Gabe Vincent also shot well. Like, you know, it is tough because some of those threes were wide open, but a lot of them were contested. And even if a shot looks wide open, like there's not a crazy contest there, like the guys are firing it off right at the end of the shot clock and knocking it down. Like there is time pressure there as well. It is, the more that 3-point variance rises in the league, or the more that 3-point frequency rises, the more variance is going to rise too. And like we've had some games where we physically could not miss, and we've been a good shooting team this whole season, really since especially the beginning of 2025. We've been the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Just today really wasn't one of those days against the Rockets. It wasn't that bad, but wasn't enough to go ahead and beat a really good team. And that's the way it's going to go some nights. Specifically the tweet I wanted to point out for the people that were freaking out. Before Austin Reeves shot that 3, the heave at the end of the shot clock at the 10.5, the Lakers had the 9th half in NBA history in which a team made 15 plus 3-pointers on 70% shooting. So it was the 9th time that's ever happened. Like, I promise you the Lakers aren't going to have a 70% 3-point shooting half in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. Can the Lakers win games other ways? Yeah, for sure. But the reason they mainly won today was because the 3-point shooting was just unbelievable. It's not going to happen. In the second half, we won the second half before the final few minutes where, you know, we put it was Dylan Jones, which, by the way, shout out to Dylan Jones. He played with a ton of hustle today. The game was over and he was running his butt off for offensive rebounds. Like, a lot of credit to him. He grabbed 5 and 6 minutes. But before we put in kind of just, none of the starters, like Shea was done and Dub was done and Chet was done and everything, we were winning the second half. We just had such a big deficit built up in the first half because they physically could not miss. And that is credit to the Lakers. And I think JJ Redick had a really good defensive game plan too to throw the Thunder off. But now we got experience. Now we got data. Now we know kind of what to expect going into a series. And that stuff's all very valuable. Even if, we get a loss and you got to endure memes and stuff, like that's the way it is when you're at the top of the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also the data is one thing because we know that Mark loves to experiment. He loves doing these random lineups. And, of course, the Lakers and the Rockets are 2 teams in which, it's a possibility that our paths cross in the playoffs. So it's good to get all the looks that you can, as many looks as you can, because I think we played the Lakers earlier this season. We played the Rockets earlier this season. We didn't have Chet in either one of those games. So, it's good to get the data for that. But I also think that there was some gamesmanship a little bit out of Mark with just not showing your cards. Again, we talk about being at the top of the West, not a lot to play for because it feels like we, barring something crazy happening, we had the top record blocked up. Mark has the luxury a little bit to not deploy I thought specifically the Rockets game before Steven Adams was announced. Of course, when Steven Adams was announced, sure, go double big, absolutely. But when I thought it was just gonna be Şengün at the 5, I was like, this is the perfect Chet at the 5 game. And whenever the starting lineup was announced, I was kind of shook a little bit. Same thing with the Lakers. They are a very small team. Jackson Hayes being like their only true 5 out there, and he's not even like a huge guy. Credit to him, he did do very well on the glass today. But I thought again this would have been a good game to get a look at Chet at the 5. But as starting lineup got announced, it's like okay, well we play him twice, whatever. But like as the game went on and like we was doing the whole switch everything, and it was like so clear we're not working, we just kept doing it. And I mean, I would love to see the matchup data, like how many of Luka's shots was just off of iHeart being ISO'd on him, because it felt like specifically in the first half, it happened so many times. And like, as it was just like going on, I was like, it feels like he's holding something back here. Like it feels like this is not end game for Thunder versus Thunder versus Lakers in terms of like, if we see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot changed. And that's the thing, too, is, people want to go off regular season matchups. And it does matter. Like, you get a lot of stuff. You can make some takeaways and kind of try to predict how series are going to go. But, I mean, like, the Lakers saw us earlier this season with this exact same team construction, pretty much. Like, I think Chet wasn't playing, but iHeart was out there. So it was pretty much the same thing. Like, we've made no major roster shifts. This is the first time we've seen the Luka Lakers. We haven't seen them before. So, it's important to get data and figure out what works. And, they played really well. Like, Luka's really good. LeBron's really good. Reeves is really good. They have an amazing big 3 of offensive creators, guys that can play make, that can shoot. They've got a decent cast of role players. Like, it's a really good team. And JJ Redick has done a great job coaching them. It's a good squad. So, Thunder got punched in the mouth today, and that's going to happen. That's going to, especially when it's your first time running into a team. But I mean, that's why it's cool that we have this game at the end of the season, and we have the game against them next time where, I think we'll come back and we'll win. But even if we lose, like, I promise you, the sky's not falling. Like, you have to pay attention to there's so much bait. There's so many like people claiming that, oh, they were so right out there. Don't fall for that, because I think a really good tale is the Celtics last year. Last year, the Celtics, everybody's like, oh, they haven't gotten it done. They can't do this. They can't do that. When every number backed up the fact that this was a historic team and that they were going to win the Eastern Conference. That's what I was saying all season. I was like, nobody can stop the Celtics in the East. And there are multiple times where people were like, oh, like they can't do this. They can't do that. And at the end of the season specifically, the Celtics had some rough games. They lost back-to-back games against the Atlanta Hawks. And if I remember correctly, neither game had Trae Young. So they lost the Hawks without Trae twice in the final couple weeks of the season. That was March 28th, March 25th. And then at the end of the season, they lost. This is kind of basically the same thing. They lost to Milwaukee, New York, back-to-back. 2 playoff teams, 2 teams that they theoretically could face in a playoff series. And, there were people saying like, oh, like the Bucks could take them and the Knicks and things like that. Like, clearly the Celtics were not at full strength, or they weren't putting out their full arsenal out there. They look kind of not disinterested, but they weren't going as hard as the opposing team. And guess what? They ended up winning the last 2 games of the season. They annihilated the Hornets, and they actually had a somewhat close game at the end of the season against the Wizards that I don't think everybody played in. I think we're going to see something similar. Our last 2 games of the season, I don't think everybody's going to play against the Jazz and the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And then the Celtics went on to decimate the Eastern Conference and ran through and won the NBA Finals like it was nothing. I'm not saying we're going to do exactly that, because I do think this West is much tougher than the East last season, but I do still think we're fine. I'm not concerned about the Lakers more because of today. Like, I knew they were a good team. Everybody knows they're a good team. But I still think the Thunder, they're not going to get 70% shooting from 3 4 times in a series against Oklahoma City. It's just not going to happen. So I feel really confident. I feel great about this team. And you should not let one game out of 82, the first 2-game losing streak since November, cloud your judgment. The thing I'm always going to say is, the Warriors, the year they went 73-9, lost to the 19-win Lakers that season. And on paper, that makes no sense. How is that physically possible? Because it's basketball. Like, it is the game of basketball. You can lose a game. We had that crazy loss to the Timberwolves earlier this season. I'm not concerned about the Wolves in a series. I don't think anybody should be. Like, we are vastly better than the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're a good team for sure, and they put up a fight. But I feel very confident the Thunder would win that series. It's the same way I feel about basically anybody in the Western Conference. It's a lot of good teams, but I think the Thunder are elite, and they have shown us that over the course of now 68 games. I mean, they've lost, 14 at this point? They have 14 losses. We are 64-14. Someone today commented on a tweet of mine after I tweet out being like, hey, the defense need to be better today. Lakers shot really well. Like, basically was just kind of going over the loss and my thoughts. And I was like, but I promise y'all, you don't need to feed into the stuff. Like, you know, we win a lot. We're going to be fine. And someone commented like, it feels like we do this a lot. What do you mean we do this a lot? We've lost 14 games. We physically can't have done this a lot. You know, it's just the way it goes. So.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, as we was talking about before we got on here, like it's like if you take a step back and you just like use the perspective and the context of like, you know, what our record is, what the numbers are saying we are, and you know what stage we are in the season, like it's easy to like, you know, be calm about this. Like, again, like, yes, it's annoying. And it's annoying because of the two fan base that we lost to. Like, between the Rockets and the Lakers, I don't know if there's a more annoying fan base that I would have chosen to lose these games to. But at the same time, man, like, it's a make or miss league. And, you know, it's like, what was it they always say? Like, 8 to 10 games in a season, like you're just going to walk in and not miss anything. And then 8 to 10 games, you're going to walk in and your opponent's not going to miss anything. And like that's what happened tonight, man. Like, you know, you tip the cap to them. Like, you know, you try to stop the bleeding as much as you can. But at the end of the day, like sometimes it's just not your night. And as we said, you know, many times, like the Celtics lost to the Heat the other night. Like the Heat have not been good post Jimmy trade. And, you know, they dropped it to them. The Cavs lost to the Kings. They only beat the Spurs by 2 in the game before that. The Spurs don't have De'Aaron Fox or Victor Wembanyama. Like, it's just that point in the season. And also, it's the NBA, man. Like, these guys are all good at basketball. And again, make or miss league. Like, sometimes those shots are going to fall, sometimes they're not. Like, there's no reason to get worried, no reason to freak out about it, because I feel like this team is going to, you know, once it's time, you know, once the lights are on in the playoffs, like, I think that those numbers are going to start to play themselves out. I think the bench is going to, you know, step up. You know, we're going to start the playoffs. We're probably going to have home court throughout the playoffs. So starting off on home court, role players play better at home. So, you know, the bench, their shots are going to start falling a little bit better. So, I'm not worried, man. I'm chill.
Yeah. April basketball is the fakest thing on the planet, by the way.
Yeah.
Not saying, like, you know, we got outplayed today, 100%. Like, I'm not saying that we didn't, that it was all luck that the Lakers won. They had some really good schemes and stuff. But, like, I mean, we see it every single year, especially the last few, like, 4 or 5 games of the season. The most absurd things happen. You do not need to be concerned ever about a 1-game sample size. There was never a 1-game sample size that should concern you. And kind of going down that similar path, I want to talk about J-Dub, because J-Dub got a lot of hate today. He did not play well. He didn't. And there are a lot of people. I put out this tweet after the Rockets game, where, by the way, Jada went insane in that Rockets game. By far the best player for us. Yeah, had 33, 3, 4, and 2 on 62% shooting. He was unstoppable in that game. And it's like everybody just forgot. And I mean, that is what's going to happen when you play the Lakers, where those games are always going to get a little bit bigger of a microscope on them, because it's the Lakers. It's the biggest brand in the league. It's LeBron. It's Luka. You know, they have a bigger spotlight on them than they have had the last few years now that Luka trade happened. So everybody's going to kind of pinpoint that. But it led to even a lot of Thunder fans being like, J-Dub's going to choke in the playoffs again. And I went back and I looked at the last 10 games he played against the top 8 teams in the West. 33, 3, 4, and 2 on 60% or 62% shooting against Houston. 25 and 4 on 50% shooting against Memphis versus Denver. And this was in 13 minutes because he got injured and had to leave. 12, 2, and 6 on 50% shooting. So if we extrapolate that over a full game, he could have ended up with 24, 4, and 12. I don't know if he would have gotten to 12, but, you know, kind of.
It's just been crazy.
Yeah, but just, you know, looking forward, it could have been numbers kind of like that. Game before that, 26, 9, 8, and 2 on 50% shooting, also against Denver in a blowout win. 25, 9, and 2 on 42% shooting against Memphis. 24, 4, 3, 1, and 1 on 50% shooting against Houston. 27, 6, 6, 1, 1 on 44% shooting against Minnesota. 18, 3, 9, 3 on 43% shooting against Minnesota. And then the last two, he had 25, 6, and 6 on 60% against Memphis. And 26, 7, 2, 2, and 1 on 47 against Golden State. And that averaged out his last 10 games against top 8 teams in the West, 23.1 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5.7 assists on 54.2% shooting. Those are sick numbers. If we get that from J-Dub for a whole playoffs, like, we're golden. I have no concerns at all if that's what we're getting from Dub over the whole playoffs. And it's like people are just I thought very clearly he's kind of erased the narrative that he can't perform against the bad teams, because he's been really good for a long time now against those top squads. He's been fantastic. And, you know, today, we struggled. Like, yeah, he did not have a good game overall, but nobody really had a good game. It was, Shea was probably the only one that played pretty well and obviously didn't get any free throw attempts, which is nuts because there were a few times he got fouled and should have gotten to the line. But, I mean, even still, he finished with 26 points and above 50% shooting, had 9 dimes. Like, Shea was good. Pretty much everybody else struggled for the most part. And he is not the reason we lost this game. Dub could have put up 30 points and we're still going to lose that game. It was just the way that the night went. So, people are freaking out, Thunder fans and everybody alike, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? Dub's going to struggle. He hasn't for like a month now. He hasn't struggled against the good teams. He's been awesome. So I just don't know how, like, I know we lost that game against the Rockets, and for some reason, nobody ever wants to take anything away from losses that's good. It has to all be bad or it all has to be good. But like in the Rockets game, my big takeaway was Dub was insane. Against a potent defense that was kind of shutting down almost everything the Thunder wanted to do.
Held Steph Curry to 3 points tonight.
Yeah, Amon Thompson, that Rockets defense held Steph Curry to 3 points tonight. Dub dropped 30 on their heads. He was amazing. Like, I mean, Chet had also takeaway. Chet was awesome. Chet had 5-6 threes in that game. I think he finished with 6. You don't have to be like, oh, everything sucked because we lost. There are good things to take away from every single game. Every game you're getting experience. Every game you're getting data. You're getting information about what it could look like if you're playing these teams in the playoffs, which is ultimately the most important thing. And the data I got from Dub playing against the Rockets is he's really good. And, you can't just take a look at one game sample sizes. You never can. There's a reason why single game plus minus is a stat that nobody ever talks about. Because it's dumb. Because there's so many extraneous factors that play into things. And it's the same thing too with the stat where I saw going around today. OKC with Jalen Williams on off the court. On the court, they're a plus 8.8, and then when he's off the court, they're a plus 21.9. A lot of that is the fact that J-Dub and Shea swap minutes, and so if you're not, if Shea is not on the court, the net rating is going to be lower. Just naturally, that's the way it's going to go. And especially early on in the season, it was not good with Dub running that second unit. It wasn't always the most productive, but as of late, it's been awesome recently. And even still with him on the court, it's a plus 8.8. You almost have a plus 10 net rating when J-Dub is out there. It's going to drop naturally when you don't have the MVP on the floor, of course. So there's context to everything. Like you got to think about it.
There's always context, man. Yeah, and I honestly like the role stars. Like I've been chill with Dub. Like we said, this is like his first bad game in like a month. Like he's been playing very well. He's been shooting very well. And his confidence, like you could see, like in his dribble movements, like his the way he's attacking the basket. Like he's playing a lot more confidence. And I hope that this game doesn't deter his confidence, going forward. I don't think it will. I think he's kind of over that hump, but. I mean, you can have a bad game, man. Like Shea has bad shooting games from the field sometimes. Like it happens. And then if you look at like Chet and Ihart, I thought they played pretty good in terms of like offensively and like their rebounding. It's just like the thing with Chet, man. Like it's he didn't play. He played 2 minutes in the fourth, so you didn't get to see it like fully extrapolated. But I just really wish we would get Chet more involved. Like. Even in that Rockets game, like we kind of just used him as a spot up shooter. And like, it's awesome that he could do that. It's great to have a 7-foot guy that that you can knock down threes, but we saw the beginning of the season, Chet is so much more than that. And, maybe we're kind of holding him back a little bit, trying to still get his legs under him, as we get into the playoffs. And once he hits to the playoffs, like he's just going to take off like no other. But, we talked about in the last podcast, like, I just feel like, he's kind of a bystander on offense sometimes, and no fault to his own. That's just a lot of guys on the floor to get the ball. But 6 field goal attempts tonight. Let me see what he had against the Rockets. If I can pull it up here. Okay, yeah. So against the Rockets, he had 10, which that's a solid number of field goal attempts. He had 14 against the Pistons. I like that even better. I think that's when he was just starting as a 5. And then against the Bulls, he only had 7 field goal attempts. But, that was in 3 quarters as well. So I would just like to see Chet be more aggressive. And, he had some nice drives tonight. He had that one where he pump faked on the corner and attacked the closeout going baseline and then finished through traffic. He's had some really nice finishes here lately.
Yeah, he has.
So, like, hopefully again, like we have a true weapon with Chet, and it feels like he's the secret weapon, but he's being underutilized right now. And again, it could be, we got it locked up. Mark's just holding his card close to his chest. And once we get in the playoffs, we're unleashing 7.
Yeah, I think that's also just kind of something with, when do we play double big? When do we just go Chet at the 5? And I feel like the games where, Chet is the 5, he is utilized more because when Ihart's on the court, there's a lot more of those dribble handoffs of him going ahead and getting to the basket, shooting that little push floater shot. And that's also, we're continuing to test things out, figure out what works, what doesn't. And yeah, I do think Chet will be more involved when we get to the playoffs. I think he's going to have to be because I do expect defenses to throw a lot at Shea. And that's when Chet's really going to thrive, in my opinion. That's when he's going to show out when teams are like, oh yeah, we're going to blitz Shea. We're going to double him at half court, this, that. Thunder get rolling. They're like, we got to stop Shea. Then you get it to Chet in the middle there, and he's either shooting that little midi or he's attacking, he's getting through contact. But yeah, I agree. I'd like to see Chet used a little bit more. And I think ultimately that could be something maybe we see this next game where maybe we start Chet at the 5 and we go with a single big look against the Lakers and see how that works. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way we go, and just kind of test it out. The big thing for me is definitely want to see the bench pick it up a little bit more. I know that it's been a little bit rougher for them in these past few games. Good to see Isaiah Joe back. He had 6 points tonight. Only shot 6 times. He shot 2 of 5 from 3. But I do think his spacing is much needed, and it was good to see him back out there again today. Kenrich, 2 of 7 from the floor, but overall I felt like he played pretty well. Like I didn't mind the Kenrich Williams minutes. Wasn't the best game for Wiggs. He was ultimately 1 of 6. Kaysen was pretty good at 8 points, 1 board, 1 steal on 4 of 7 shooting. I was really just not hitting the threes. Again, this was kind of a night where we just weren't hitting our outside shots. Like 1 of 4 for Caruso. It was 1 of 4 from Kenrich Williams, 0 of 3 for Aaron Wiggins, 0 for 2 for Kaysen Wallace. Just the bench guys weren't really hitting those outside shots, and that's something that's always going to come and go with the NBA. That's the way it's going to be. But I mean, that's why we have a guy like Shea to kind of elevate us and keep us at a floor relatively. And then you're just going to see shooting variance from a night-to-night basis, which again is what we saw with the Lakers. This was the most threes they hit all season, 22 of 40. That's a ridiculous percentage.
So hey, let's talk about Shea here for a second before we move on here. But obviously struggled a little bit against Houston, but again, we talked about Steph Curry, one of the best basketball players to ever play basketball, best shooter on the planet, was held to 3 points by the same Houston defense. So the fact that Shea was able to do what he did against them, which I'm pulling up here, he had
20. You got it.
Yeah, 22, 4, 8, and 3 in 35 minutes of action. Shot 10 of 22, 1 of 6 from 3. So he had a rough shooting night, but credit to Houston, man. They just make them work. Amin Thompson is special. He is a truly special defender. And Shea still is, able to kind of get to the rim, get to his spots a little bit. It just sometimes he misses, man. He had some good looks. He made Amin touch earth. Absolutely made him touch earth in the first quarter. Yeah. That was one of the that was one of the underrated highlights of the year because people talked about it, but since we lost the game, even though Shea finished it, nobody wants to talk about it as much, but that's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league right now, going against the best offensive engine in the league right now, and him absolutely winning that matchup. But again, tonight he had 26 points, 9 rebounds, or 9 assists, only 1 turnover, shot over 50% from the field, shot 40% from the free throw line or 3-point line. So, he's getting back in, the shot was falling a little bit more tonight, and, it looked a lot easier. And again, that kind of goes back to the Lakers being not as good at perimeter defense. But I want to ask you, Cone, because past 2 games, man, 2 free throw attempts for 2. And shout out to our guy Carson Braber over there at Nerd Sesh. I don't have the full tweet up here, so I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that it kind of feels like the whole free throw merchant narrative has seeped into the officiating for the NBA, and they're not giving him calls that not only did he used to get, but that he deserves. And I'll even add on to that. I think his name. I think his at is at OKC Sucks, but it's Amar. Amar's had many different Twitter handles over the years, but he tweeted out before the game that in the last, I want to say month and a half, maybe it was even post All-Star break, of the top 15 scorers in the NBA, Shea has the lowest free throw rate of those top 15 scorers in that time frame. So, Cone, is NBA Twitter getting to the officiating, or is this just something else happening?
I kind of think it is. Not that it is NBA Twitter getting to officiating. I think because Twitter and the reception from fans, like it seeps in. Mm-hmm. And I think coaches, like people see it,
staff.
People see it, and it creates viral moments that people talk about. Players and talk to coaches about it. Everyone's online at this point. And I'm sure, maybe not Jimmy Bickerstaff, but Chris Finch was complaining about it. And I'm sure they had their teams send in footage to the office. They're like, this should be a foul. Like, y'all need to do this and that. And coaches are going to go on rants. It's the same reason why sometimes Mark or any coach will get a tech, because they need to let refs know hey, you're missing something. And then the officiating might change. Officials are prone to that type of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think we saw it last year where the game started to get a little bit, more physical, it was being called less fouls and stuff going into the playoffs last year. And then by the time the playoffs rolled around, everything was basically the same. It's kind of the exact same way it was. And that's actually kind of something that people don't realize about the playoffs is I saw a stat recently. It's either playoff rate or free throw attempt rate is the exact same going into the playoffs, or it even goes up in the playoffs over the last few years. People talk about guys aren't getting free throws. They do. They get it the exact same rate. It's the exact same thing. It's just that this narrative has been built up. But yeah, and I mean, it's a credit to Shea, 29 points today on really solid efficiency, despite playing against a defense that was really in it today and not really anybody else producing too much outside of him and not getting any free throws. There was that one where he got an elbow in the back and he kind of got hit from the front on the same play. He got sandwiched and crumpled to the floor and there was nothing, there was no whistle. And that should be a free throw for Shea. It should be too. And it's, the free throws weren't going to make the difference today. It's just unfortunate if that is the case, because as everybody has told you, as we have told you, the free throw stuff, it's just not accurate, even close to accurate, that Shea's this free throw merchant. And I'm not worried at all about it. He's going to be fine, but it just sucks more so that, he's playing through this contact. He's getting hit repeatedly and he's not getting rewarded for it. Shea's always been aggressive, willing to drive into guys because he gets, rewarded for it. He's going to finish for and ones, or he's going to get, those free throws and get to the line, slow the game down a little bit and knock down those shots. And just, he's not been afforded the calls that not only he should get, but anybody should get. These are just fouls. And I do think the Rockets and Lakers played some pretty good overall defense. I'm not saying you should have had 12, 15 free throw attempts in these games and they're not the reason why we lost or anything like that. It's unfortunate because, he's earning those trips to the line.
Yeah. What's your take on that baseline one where he kind of did this?
See, I don't know. I thought it was a foul. Because if you've played basketball, shooting a fadeaway, your legs are going to kick out like that. It did not look like, and also the contact was kind of at Shea's knee. It wasn't like he just kind of hit Shea's foot. So I thought it was a foul, but ultimately I'm just glad they didn't call it an offensive foul, because I thought at first that's what they were going to do. If they called a no call there, which they ultimately did, they said there was not enough contact either way. They just called it a no call. Fine. Ultimately, whatever. I guess I could kind of see what you're saying there, but I don't know. I thought it was a foul. On a fadeaway, you're always going to kick that leg out. It's just kind of what you need to get the strength to go up with one of those shots. As someone who, my game, you've hooped with me before, it's very predicated on, I love that mid-range fadeaway kind of look. That's the same way my legs move. And I mean, I'm not going up against NBA level defenders and athletes, and I don't need to get as much lift on my jumpers to shoot it up and over them. So yeah, man, I don't know. I thought it was a foul, but I'm just glad it was a no call and not an offensive foul, because to me that would have been insane if they made that an offensive foul.
Yeah, my thing is, I told you I was watching with my buddy Trevin, who's a Lakers fan, and he was like, the announcers, or I guess the ref came on and said it was an unnatural movement of the leg or whatever, and Trevin was like, yeah, it was unnatural. I was like, buddy, have you watched Shea play basketball? There's not much natural about him. I was like, I showed him the video and the freeze frame of whenever he had that snatch back on Jaren Jackson. And whenever he rose up for the mid-range jumper, his feet were literally perpendicular to the rim. They were fully facing the baseline as he shot the ball. And it was cash. He's one of the most unconventional basketball players that's ever played the game in terms of like, you know, turkey jerky and
it's also just the way he shoots those fadeaways. His legs like always kind of go like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and just watch tape, man. Like, you know, you can look at like any of the game winners that he's hit, like, you know, where they have like the freeze frame of the shot. His legs are out like that. Like I don't know. It's I think it also was just a little bit like how adamant Luka was. And, you know, Luka definitely is one of those players that works the refs like all game long. And, you know, obviously JJ Redick had to call the challenge, but like since Luka was so animated and adamant about it, you know, maybe that's kind of in the ref's mind as well. I don't know. It was just a weird call. I didn't agree with it, but you know, it's all good.
Yeah. Officiating has its moments. It has its ups and downs. And Shea's one of those guys that never berates the ref. So even today after the game, he's like, I mean, maybe I'm just not getting fouled, basically. And I mean, that continuing to build that good relationship with the refs, like he'll be fine. It's not like he's going to get 0 free throws on all these fouled driving attempts. I couldn't find the word for some reason in the playoffs, which also someone brought this up today, and I do think actually it's pretty funny. People talk about like, oh, guys who shoot a lot of free throws and this and that, like never find success in the playoffs. Have y'all heard of a guy named Jimmy Butler? Like Jimmy is a free throw grifter. And like, I love Jimmy Butler. He's a great player. This is nothing against Jimmy Butler because I think if you can get contact, like drawing contact for some reason has been deemed as a bad thing, as opposed to it is good that you are getting and fighting through contact and you are, you know, getting easy points for your team. That should just be seen as a good thing as long as you're not like, you know, jumping backwards into a defender or things like that, or you're hurting players by going for fouls and stuff like that. It's just the way that basketball works. Like Jimmy Butler's always been someone who's top of the free throw like attempts per game list, like top 5, top 6, and he doesn't shoot nearly as much as anybody else out there, anywhere close to the guys on the actual top of the list with points per game wise. So yeah, it's just more narrative kind of stuff I wanted to put out there for y'all that you don't need to really worry about.
Yeah, and I mean it's really annoying, man. Like, you know, sports are all about finding an advantage to give yourself an edge to win the game, like the torpedo bats in baseball. Like,
yeah, shout out to the Yankees. My Yankees using legal, torpedo bats.
The bats are alive. Hey, a couple of my Reds are using them too, but it has not been working. Like, Ellie had like a game where he hit 2 home runs in the same game, and then it came out he's using torpedo bat, and I don't think he's hit a home run since. So come on, Ellie, you got to get those Yankee torpedo bats.
Yeah, they exposed him, man. Like Anthony Volpe's been going nuts, and he's using a torpedo bat. He's having his breakout year, and they're calling him a nickname I'm not going to say because it sounds bad. Like they need to stop calling him the nickname. Like it's not good, man.
It's like
I'll just say the word torpedo has a word in it that you don't want to be associated with, and Volpe, it's not good. It's not
all right. This is fair. Okay. Well, I mean, there's no other way to transition into that. But Comb, what is your official panic meter number after these 2 losses?
1, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd say probably a 1. I'm not panicked at all. I mean, I just don't think there's any reason to. Like, I had way more concerns about this team going to the playoffs last year than I do this year. The team is just so much more well-rounded. They've been dominant all season. I'm not going to worry about 2 games. And I mean, they destroyed the Pelicans round 1. Round 2, they lost the Mavericks, but it was 6 games, but it was a very, very close 6 games. The point differential again was literally 0. And if Shea doesn't make that littlest bit of contact there on PJ Washington, we're going to Game 7 back in Oklahoma City against the team that went to the NBA Finals. So yeah, like I mean, that team was when Giddey was pretty much unplayable in the playoffs, didn't have the extra rebounding of an Isaiah Hartenstein, didn't have the defense of an Alex Caruso. The team was shooting worse. We now have playoff experience. Like, I'm really not worried at all. If you are, you know, you can let us know. But me personally, there's literally no panic whatsoever. As long as this team is healthy, I'm not worried. If someone was injured, then I would be panicking more. But I'm not.
Yeah, I think specifically in the early rounds, I think that the only thing that I'm worried about is, you know, kind of beating ourselves in terms of like, you know, just, you know, injuries, staying healthy and everything, because I was talking to Trevin, man, like I kind of think the team misses Jalen Williams a little bit out there. Just especially like when we go double big. I know they try to stagger them. They play Dub as the big sometimes, and Kendricks as the small man 5. But Jay Will's been killing it the last month, and I really do think we miss him whenever those guys go to the bench.
I agree. I do think Jay Will has become like an important piece of this team. I don't know what the playoff rotation looks like. I'm actually very interested to see, but I mean, I think he'll be good to go for the playoffs. He's doing with that ankle thing at the moment, but I feel like he'll be good to go. Like he'll have a full week off between, we could not play him for the rest of the regular season, and that'll give him like 2+ weeks off, and he should be perfectly fine to go for then. But yeah, I do think Jay will. We talk about the double big thing, and specifically, teams going at us with zones. The way to beat that is with some shooting. Jay Will's been shooting the hell out of the ball recently. Also, really good playmaker for a big man. Does a really good job getting downhill. He has some crazy finishes at times too. Has really good chemistry with a few of the guys. I agree. I do think the team misses Jay Will a little bit for sure.
Yeah. It would be nice to have our full game of rotation.
And we miss Ousmane Dieng. Get well soon, GOAT.
We miss Ousmane Dieng so bad. I need that. I need the 6'10" floor spacer out there,
bro. We need him to go out there. Final game of the season, we're not playing anybody. I really want Ouz to be back and see him just put up crazy numbers.
I need that. I need a Ouz triple double for the agenda.
Man, that would be so sick.
That would absolutely thrill me.
Oh my god, Pelicans, Ousmane Dieng. Who's even going to be playing for the Pelicans in that last game? I'm trying to think of who could even go off for them.
My guy Antonio Reeves.
Oh, it could be a Carlo Matkovic type of game.
Oh my god, what a name!
Kyler Kelly. Could be Kyler Kelly's game. He's on a 10-day right now. Elfrid Payton triple double to end the season.
Hey, Elfrid Payton be diming that ball up like crazy though.
Yeah. Bro, I love that Elfrid Payton's just like back in the league. He had 10 dimes tonight against the Bucks.
That's what I'm saying.
Didn't score at all, unfortunately. Had 0 points, but yeah, man. 10 dimes, 12 dimes, 4 dimes, 6 dimes, 10 dimes. Look at my guy Elfrid hooping out there, man. Give Elfrid Payton a spot back in the league.
He just be dropping nines, man.
By the way, that is what I'm saying about April basketball. We were discussing Elfrid Payton dishing out double-digit dimes every single night. The Pelicans almost beat the Bucks today. Almost. It was a 111 to 107.
Without Giannis.
Like, it's one of those things, man. You just gotta.
Yep.
You can't look into it too much.
Well, before we end the pod, I'm going to go ahead and take a break to hear a word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to kind of discuss the playoff picture, potential playoff matchups, and whatnot. After a word from our sponsors. And we're back after a word from our sponsors. It is me, Thunder Chats, and 3Cone over here. We have discussed the 2 losses. We are not panicked. We are not worried. And we're actually going to talk about some of the potential matchups that we're looking at. So, Cone, you was kind of rifling off the standings earlier. Yeah. Sounds like there is a potential 5-team tie in the Western Conference.
There is, man. It's interesting, man. It's interesting. Like, even if we beat the Lakers as well in that next game and we kick them down a little bit, I mean, there's a world where I guess maybe there isn't. I don't remember who plays who, but there could be a world where there's a 6-way tie.
That'd be nuts.
But I think like the Nuggets play the Grizzlies, so I think that throws it off a little bit. But I guess it's maybe a potential outcome. It is wild though. Get a refresher. Thunder and Rockets pretty much locked into 1 and 2. The Rockets would have to like lose out to not get the 2 seed, and I don't think that's going to happen for them. So we're locked into 1 and 2. Lakers are 3. And then the Nuggets are 1.5 games back of them. Then the Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies are all half a game back of the Nuggets at the 4 spot. And it is Clippers, Warriors, Timberwolves, Grizzlies at the moment down to 8. And then it's the Kings and the Mavericks at 9 and 10, who theoretically could factor into it, but I'm not sure. A 9 seed has made it into the playoffs before. A 10 seed has never made it in. So whether that's the Mavs or the Kings, I just think it's hard for me to envision either one of those teams beating a Grizzlies or a Timberwolves in a series, if those are the 2, or even if it's the Warriors, the Clippers, the Nuggets, like any of those teams. I just don't see a way where the Mavs, with all the injuries they have, like no Kyrie Irving, or the Kings beating one of those teams. I mean, it is one game. Like that's what we're talking about. The NBA, anybody could beat anybody, but I think it's unlikely at least.
Yeah. I don't think there's really been too many upsets in the playing games, has there? It's been pretty chalk.
Not a lot, no. Like there have been 10s beating 9s, but I think a 9 has made it because last year's play-in was The last year, no, the play-in last year finished the same way. Like the Lakers were the 8 and they upset the Pelicans, who fell to 8, and the Lakers got the 7 last year. The year prior, it was the Hawks pulled off the upset to get up to 7, but the Heat also got in as the 8, the way that they would have been otherwise. We were the 10 and lost to the Timberwolves to get in the year prior to that. So I think I don't know if a 9 ever has gotten in. Oh, no, they did. The Hawks in 2021, 2022. That was when the Cavs really beat up that at the end of the season where they just kind of fell apart. And the Hawks leapfrogged them into the standings to beat them in that playing game as the 9. And they ended up becoming the 8 seed. So, and then the Pelicans, the year that we got Jado from the Clippers, they beat the Clippers to move up to the 8 seed and get into the playoffs to face the Suns, and the Clippers fell down to 9. So there have been like a couple upsets, but for the most part, it's pretty much always the 7 and 8 in some order get in.
That was that was Bird Night. That was when didn't somebody hit a game winner, or like CJ McCollum went nuts at the end of the game to secure that win?
Yes, I think CJ did go crazy in that game. I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Shout out CJ McCollum, Lehigh legend.
Thunder legend, honorary at this point. For getting us dub, we appreciate you.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask, while you're looking that up, basically, as we're kind of rounding up the pod here, give me the matchup that you want, realistically, based on where it's at right now, and give me the matchup of who you actually think it's going to be for the Thunder.
I'd like the Kings. I think the Kings don't really stand a chance against us, and I think it'd be like 4 games, maybe 5. I think it's going to be hard to sweep almost anybody in this West just because there's a lot of talented teams, and like we saw again tonight, teams can just shoot lights out sometimes. So it'd be 4, maybe 5, I think, against the Kings. Mavericks, I'm also really not worried about at all, and it would be kind of nice to kind of just put all that to bed. Yeah. But I think Anthony Davis is just an annoying player to play against in a series.
Let off some steam against the Mavericks.
Yeah, that'd be nice. To just if we could pummel them real quick and be like, okay, we conquered our demons, we're good. I do also think the Grizzlies, with the way that things are going right now, like new coach, I think that's a rough spot to be in if you're the Grizzlies. And I feel like in a playoff series, we would beat them pretty handily as well. I think it would also be like a 5-game series. We've done great against them this whole season. So, yeah, those are the kind of ones I'd be aiming for the most. What matchup do I think we get? I kind of have this feeling it's going to be Memphis for some reason. Like that's the way that I've been envisioning it. Memphis versus Minnesota in a playing game. I'm taking Minnesota, and then Grizzlies versus either the Kings or the Mavericks. I'm probably leaning the Memphis Grizzlies. So I don't know. For some reason, I feel like it's going to be Memphis. Like that just to me feels like it's what's going to happen. But I also they have kind of an easy, they play the Hornets next. Then it's the Wolves. That's going to be a huge one for determining seeding.
Yep.
And then it's the Nuggets, who are also kind of tough. And then the Mavs, who might be kind of fighting for something there at the end as well. Like they have AD back, so they're not an easy team to beat. So those are the teams I'm kind of but that feels like a relatively easy schedule, for the Grizzlies. Like it's not that bad. If we look at remaining strength, Lakers have the hardest out of any of the teams, but it's us and the Rockets and then the Blazers and the Mavs. I think the Lakers probably win at least 2 of those games. They're not going to fall into the play-in. Rockets aren't going down there. Denver, low-key, they're not that far out of the play-in, man. I don't want to face Jokic round 1. Definitely don't want to because I think we win, obviously, but it would be incredibly annoying to play against Nikola Jokic. I'm trying to look at who has the easiest strength of schedule left.
That's
Minnesota
last year when we played the Pelicans. It's obviously we're going to beat them, but I don't want to see 4 games of Herb Jones just blanketing Shea.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's the way it goes. If I had to predict how the standings are going to finish, I'm going to say, who does Denver play down the season? Denver's got the Kings, the Grizzlies, and the Rockets. It's kind of a tough final 3, man, for Denver. I think they also, I don't know if you saw Jamal Murray injury might be worse than previously thought it was.
No.
He's missed the last 5 games with a hamstring injury. And Michael Malone said that hopefully Jamal Murray will be able to suit up for game 1 in the playoffs.
Oh, man. That's
not good. So
yeah,
that is ominous for the Nuggets. So I mean, they're half a game up. They could fall into the play-in, but I'm gonna say that they don't. I think the Clippers might get the 4 seed, to be honest. No, but they play everyone plays each other, which is kind of sick. They play the Rockets, the Kings, and the Warriors to end the season after the Spurs their next game.
Dude, I gotta give a shout out to the Clippers. They have done so much better than we ever expected at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It would have been cool if they gave us Cooper Flag, but no, I made a video recently talking about the most shocking teams in the playoff or in the league this season. And I talked about the Rockets and the Pistons, but I also talked about the Clippers. And I was like, hey, man, I thought we might have a chance at getting a Cooper Flag. And instead, they might get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, bro. They've been so sick. Zubats, I believe, should be kind of in some depoy talks. I might have him first team all defense. Kawhi's been awesome as of late. Norman Powell, first or best season of his career randomly, just at 31 years old, man. Yeah, because I thought losing PG was going to be tough for them, and it has not mattered at all. It's been a blessing, if anything. It has,
it absolutely has. And then James Harden turning back the clock, of course, and then they just stayed they floated above water until Kawhi came back, and Kawhi's been freaking awesome since he's come back.
Yeah, so. That's a team also I think would be very annoying to face round one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially if you get some playoff Kawhi moments there. Yeah. But at the same time, you have playoff James Harden. So,
and you have Lou Dort on James Harden, which is always a blessing. So. Yes,
absolutely. I would agree and say that Grizzlies is probably my favorite matchup for us. Obviously, the Kings and everything and the Mavs for what you're saying, but
just top 8 though. Yeah, I'm taking Memphis if I had to pick a team.
And I think that'd be a really fun series. I think we win, but Ja Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr., and some of the young guys on the Grizzlies, that's a fun collection of talent out there that you get at least see for 4 games. So I'm picking Grizzlies for the one that I want the most. What I think ends up happening, I think I'm with you. I think we might end up with the Grizzlies. It's something feels right about it. Throwing it back to the Zebo days of old. Zebo, Tony Allen, Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, and all of them. So
to me, it feels like it's Grizzlies or Kings. I don't know why. I can't picture us in a first round matchup against anybody else. I have a weird feeling that the Kings could just pull something insane off, and then it's Sacramento back in the playoffs again.
That would be absolutely nuts, man.
Yeah, if the Grizzlies fall, I don't know, man. Some about they've won 2 in a row, but they're 3-7 in their last 10. Yeah, I don't know, man. They've just been playing so bad. They've got the Hornets coming up, but I think they lose to the Wolves. I think they lose to the Nuggets. I would be shocked if they lost to the Mavs the last game of the season. They just feel like the clear 8 seed to me if I had to pick how the standings are going to finish out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of the way it goes. I'd pick them to lose against any of the top 7. I'd pick them to beat the Kings or the Mavericks. So yeah, give me Memphis in that first round, an old throwback series, like you said.
Let me ask you this, because obviously you're our NBA guy, and you kind of previewed it. You said you can kind of see Memphis getting the 8 spot and the Wolves getting the 7 spot. How you feel about that Wolves-Rockets series?
Wolves Rockets, man, it's interesting. It's very interesting because the Wolves have been playing awesome as of late, but the Rockets have been amazing, man. They're really good. They're a really fun team. I would lean the Rockets in that series mainly because I have no idea what playoff Julius Randle is going to bring to the table. That is a major concern. I know Houston doesn't have a lot of experience. Obviously, Ant is a problem, but you do have Amin Thompson at least to throw at Anthony Edwards. And I think you've got a lot of good size to throw at the Timberwolves too. So yeah, I think that's a 6-7 game series. I'd probably pick Rockets in 7. I think if I had to go one way or the other. But I mean, I guess that is a really good Timberwolves defense too. And it's how do you score in the half court consistently? But the Rockets they're just so good defensively. They beat you up on the boards. Although when you have Rudy Gobert and Nas as well as Julius Randle, a bruiser, maybe that's enough to negate that. That would be one of my favorite series of the first round. If we have to project favorite series, that one would be awesome. I love Timberwolves versus Nuggets too. Every time they play, it's completely absurd. I'd love Lakers versus Warriors. That's what, if the season ended today, that would be the matchup. And obviously Steph versus LeBron, Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler, that's everything you want to see in a series and more. That's box office. So I'd love to see that one. Clippers Lakers too. You finally get the battle of LA with Kawhi and LeBron, and then it's Luka going up against the Clippers in the first round again. Like they just can't seem to get away from each other. I'd love that one. I think Grizzlies Thunder would be fun. Who else?
Grizzly Wolves would also be fun, but also annoying.
Throwback to the CTE hoops that we saw in that one series between the two of them a few years back, where it was like the most absurd. Like every game, there was multiple double-digit leads blown just for the hell of it. I don't think there's really a combination of two teams that could create just a series I'm not at all interested in. Like Lakers Nuggets obviously has been box office nonstop. That would be a lot of fun. Warriors Clippers with James Harden going up against the Warriors again. You've got Kawhi facing off against Jimmy and Steph Curry. That's a lot of fun. Wolves Clippers is also a really good time with Ant going up against Harden and Kawhi. Like there's really nothing in this Western Conference that's boring. And then you look over at the Eastern Conference and it's unfortunately going to be like Cavs versus Magic or Hawks, I guess, which Trey is really fun, and Paolo Franz are really good, but like the Cavs are going to eviscerate probably whoever's in that first matchup, and it's going to be the Celtics against the other one of those two teams, and that will also be like a 5-4 game series. Yeah, man, the Cooper Flag can't go west. They've got to put talent in the East. I'm so convinced he's a wizard beyond belief.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Can I stick with the East real quick? Just while we're talking about it. What potential matchup are you most excited for? Is it because it's looking like, correct me if I'm wrong, the Pacers are the 4 seed, like they got that pretty much locked up at this point, right?
Pretty much locked up, yeah.
And so, are the Pistons the 5 seed or are they the 6?
Bucks are the 5 seed because they've actually won 4 in a row.
Okay,
at this moment, the Pistons have lost a few recently. They lost to the Grizzlies. They lost to us, of course. They lost to the Wolves. So they've had some losses recently. Cade has also been dealing with an injury, so that's kept him out for a few of those games. So yeah, it's gonna be some combination of like. It is going to be Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Pacers, and then it's either Bucks, Pistons. Like they could swap. To me, I think Bucks, Pacers is really interesting. Like that's obviously one that we saw last year. So to get a rematch of that in the first round, fingers crossed Dame is back for that one to finally get to see Dame and Giannis play together in a playoff series. Yeah. That would be really fun. I think that would be a great time. And I have no idea who I'd pick because I
love the Pacers.
Yeah, I like the Pacers a lot. They're just a better team, but it's then the thing of like, but you also have Giannis, and could he just go berserk in the playoffs? You never know.
They don't really got nobody to guard Giannis, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's the problem. Pistons versus Knicks, I also think is really fun.
Yeah.
Cade going up against Brunson, 2 of the best guards in the Eastern Conference. I think that would be a really cool series. Anybody really the Pistons play is going to be a good time just to see them back in the playoffs.
I'd love to see Pacers Pistons, man. That would be such a fun series.
That too, like just 2 young teams that can kind of just make like very rapid fire offense. I'd love that. I mean, it's either going to be Pacers Pistons or Pacers Bucks. And I do think also Bucks Knicks. If you want to talk about drama, the fact that one of those teams would go out in the first round, that's drama. Because if you're the Pacers, if you go out round 1, yeah, it sucks. But also it already feels like they need to make a consolidation trade, you know? They got to do something to elevate themselves pretty soon here. But if you're the Bucks and you go out round 1 and Dame and Giannis are there, you're like, what the hell do we do now? If you're the Knicks and you've played all season like this and you go out in the first round of Giannis and Dame, who've kind of just been like the Bucks have been so up and down all season, then it like is there a world where they end up going up against the Bucks and they lose round 1 and Tom Thibodeau gets fired? Like, is that a real world? Yeah. I don't know. So that if you like drama. Oh, or I guess really anyway, because the Bucks and Pacers have a lot of drama between them. Yeah, going back to last season too. So any combination of those 4 teams, and then unfortunately, I think the Cavs Celtics series are going to be pretty rough. Like Trey will get the Hawks a game, maybe. But outside of that, I really don't think there's much to take into account with those Cavs Celtics Magic versus Hawks series.
Yeah, over the next week or so, I'll be revisiting our preseason predictions, and we'll see how right everybody was on there. But, what was it? The second chance bracket, like in ESPN. So right now, Cone, you're predicting your Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals. I'm throwing a lot of questions at you. You're an NBA guy. So, like, hey, who's your ECF? Who's your WCF?
My Eastern Conference Finals is Celtics, Cavs. Like, I don't see any other way that goes.
Where's the madness, man?
I'm sorry. There's no other way for it to go, unfortunately. I just
All
don't
one
see a world
seeds.
where one of those teams loses. Like, the only hope, I think, no one's being the Celtics. If, like, for some reason, like, the Cavs also, by the way, for Thunder fans aren't keeping up with the rest of the league, the Cavs have also been struggling recently. Like, they've been losing a lot more games than they're used to. They had a 3-game losing streak. It might have even been a 4-game losing streak. Yeah, it was 4-game losing streak. They're like also 62-16. Like, they're completely insane. So they've been losing a little bit recently, but I just don't think the Pacers, like, maybe they could pull off some insanity. I think that's the only team I would feel like that has a chance against them in the range that could end up playing them. But even still, I'm taking the Cavs in like probably 6, I think.
Yeah.
Celtics, I don't think the Knicks could stop them. I just don't think so at all. So it's going to be those two. West is where it gets interesting. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be there. My question is, who else is going to be in that matchup? And it's really just going to come down to seeding, I think. I really think that's just the way it goes.
Gun to your head.
If the seeding ends the way it does today, Lakers.
Whew.
Because actually, I mean, I don't know who wins the Lakers-Warriors series. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea who wins that series. Yeah. Because like the Warriors just beat the Lakers and they've been playing really well, but I'm not going to take a one game into account. My thing is, I really just think when it gets to the playoffs, the Lakers defense has had some really good highs, but they've had some really low lows. And I think if you're playing a team over and over again, they're just not going to be able to give the consistent effort that they need to. I think teams will find ways to expose Luka and the lack of rim protection that they have. Like, that series is really tough. Honestly, if I had to pick today, I'd say probably the winner of that Lakers-Warriors series, like, probably goes to the Western Conference Finals. Just because I still think Denver's been spiraling as of late. And if Jamal Murray's not healthy, then that really puts a big damper on them. But like right now it'd be Nuggets Clippers in round 1, and then winner goes up against us. And I'm taking us over anybody in the Western Conference. So that's kind of the tough thing on their end. I think the better question is just generally, who is the second best team in the West right now? And I also have no clue as to what the answer to that is. Do you have an answer? Do you have a thought if you had to pick someone who's the second best in the West right now? Because I do want to shout the Rockets, but I do think also, I think they're kind of on a similar trajectory to us where, like, I think their first round series is going to be tougher than ours was last year, but also in the second round, I just think it's going to become really tough for them to rely on relentlessly getting offensive rebounds and playing this just breakneck pace defense. I think at some point the offense is going to have to be better than it is, and I just don't trust the consistency of a Jalen Green over the course of a couple of playoff series to get them to the Western Conference Finals. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, smart money always leans towards the Nuggets just because they got, one of the best players in the world. They have basically the starting 5 that they had whenever they won the finals a couple years ago. They have playoff risers all across their roster, and Russell Westbrook as well, who I still believe, is a playoff riser. We saw in that Clippers series a couple years ago, whenever everybody got hurt and Russell Westbrook went to work, he rose up for his team. So I do like Denver, but honestly, man, we shouted them out a second ago. I think the Clippers low key might be the second best team in the West if they go into this thing healthy, just because everything works for them. They play hard. They're one of the best coached teams in the league with Tyronn Lue. Tyronn Lue is like a proven playoff coach in terms of X's and O's adjustments, getting his guys to play for him. And yeah, man, their starting 5 is nasty. I think they got solid depth. I think it might be the Clippers for me.
I mean, that's not a bad shout at all. The Clippers have been really good. Like, that team is loaded with veteran talent. Like, Kawhi's been there, Harden's been there, Norman Powell's won a championship with the Raptors. He's a really good player. It's a great team, man. Zoo is awesome. Like, his growth has been super sick. Like, I mean, yeah, it might be them. If they end up getting like a 2 to a 3 seed, then I think they have a chance. Really, I think it's just whoever kind of gets the best route in that 2, 3, 6, 7 bracket. It's just probably going to be them. Like, whoever just gets the most favorable matchups. I think a lot of this West is just favorable matchups. Like, I do think Denver can beat pretty much anybody, but if they play Minnesota, who's just had their number relentlessly, then what happens in that type of series? I could see them beating like a Houston or someone who's better theoretically than the Timberwolves, but because the Wolves just kind of have that matchup that seems to work against the Nuggets, do they still beat them? With the Rockets, I think there are teams they stand a better chance against. But if they happen to just get a bad matchup, then they could go out round 1 or they could go out round 2. I think conference finals is going to be really tough unless they get perfect matchups. But like, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like they could theoretically pull it off. With with the Lakers, there are certain matchups that work really well, but the Nuggets have just all relentlessly had kind of their number. I mean, they had that really good game against the Nuggets after the Luka trade where they kind of locked up Jokic and they made life hell for him. But theoretically, I mean, over most times, the Nuggets have had the Lakers number. I think this West is so much about matchups beyond the Thunder. I think the Thunder are the clear best team in the West, but beyond OKC, I think it's just all matchup based, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I told you to pick the conference finals, so I'm picking the finals. Thunder Celtics in the finals. I think this was that was my prediction before the season.
Same.
And I'm sticking to it. You know, facing the defending champions, two teams that have very similar roster builds, kind of built from the same cloth a little bit. And I will say this about the Thunder. Shea, Dub, Chet, they all have rose to the occasion anytime we play against the Boston Celtics. I expect nothing less. I think that could be an all-time series, man. I really do.
Same.
Like,
I think that's a 6 at minimum, probably 7-game series. I'd lean the Thunder. It's mainly because obviously we're a Thunder podcast. We are Thunder fans, so there is bias here, of course.
A little bit of bias,
but also, and it's part of the reason why I've gone back and forth on whether I think the Cavs or the Celtics win the East. I think I'm going to lean the Celtics just because I trust the roster more, and I've seen them. I don't want to say I've seen them do it because I hate that they haven't done it before thing, because I think the Cavs could pull it off. But that's more so to me like if you're doing kind of a coin flip and you're like, I really don't know, you maybe just trust the team with a little bit more experience. I also think Tatum is just the best player in that series, and I don't think he's going to have as bad of a shooting run as he had last year. They've got great guard defenders in Drew and Derek White to slow the Celtics or to slow the Cavaliers down. Absolutely. So I'd probably lean the Celtics, but I think that's also a 6-7 game series. But part of the reason I lean Thunder over Celtics in that matchup is because it is really damn hard to repeat in the NBA. It doesn't happen like ever. And the Celtics are a team very talented. They are good enough to repeat. There's a reason they were the favorite again coming into the season. Most times the team that won it, like off the bat, they're going to be the favorite unless big time moves were made. But the Celtics were like the clear favorite in the Eastern Conference. They ran through last year. They've earned the respect to still be considered by far the best team in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they're by far the best team. I think most people are still picking Boston over Cleveland in that series. But I think that's an awesome series, and it's one that could wear the Celtics down. Like, that's a tough matchup. The Thunder are going to have to go through a lot of tough ones as well, but I think the 3 best teams in the NBA are the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Cavs. It is those 3 squads. So, yeah, man, the Thunder would have home court advantage. They played the Celtics really well the 2 times that we've seen them. I don't think that automatically, of course, translates to playoff success. We saw last year the Wolves got swept by the Suns in the regular season and then swept them right back when we got to the playoffs. So
we were undefeated against the Blazers. I think we were 3-1 against the Jazz whenever we played them in the playoffs too. So,
yeah, I mean, playoffs, it's a different animal. Like, it really is different. So I think ultimately the Thunder don't have the experience, I guess. I've started to become an experience hater, and we'll see how right I'm proven in the playoffs. But I've started to just come to the conclusion that, experience matters, but when your team is just good enough, it doesn't matter at all. And I think the Thunder are a team that can prove that. Yeah, like, it's just hard to repeat in the NBA, man. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yep. I 100% agree, man. Well, that's all I got, man. I'm very excited to see this team in the playoffs. I think it was at never been equal. Shout out to my guy Nick. He said that winning has gotten boring. Well, I wish you would take that back, man. I want to get back to winning ways, but I mean, I think the spirit of the tweet is that, like, let's just get to the playoffs. Like, this has been such a fun season, but like it kind of feels like we're spinning our wheels a little bit. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's get to where the games actually matter, and like let's get back to those winning ways. And we're a week away, man. Let's get to it.
Yeah, man, we're a week away. Very excited, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Western Conference play-in is gonna be awesome. East maybe not so much, but those playing games are gonna be fun, specifically out west. And I mean, hey, maybe like a Bulls sneak into the playoffs. That'd be kind of fun. I think they would lose by like 50 points a game to the Cavs, unfortunately, but it would be fun. Like, shout out to the Bulls. That's been a really fun team this season. So maybe they sneak in. Maybe Miami gets in and people start talking crazy again. Like, oh my God, like, the Heat, could they pull something off before they lose by like 60 every game? But yeah, man, play-ins, like, I mean, this time next week, the bracket will be set. And let me check actually when the play-in tournament schedule is, because we'll know pretty quick who we're playing. Actually, I think we won't know until, I forgot we're the 1 seed, so we actually won't know until Friday. That's annoying.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Yeah. Well.
I will say also, like, we said before the pod, like, after these past 2 games, sadly, the Dort Depoy agenda is cooked. But if you, like, it's so funny if you look at Kobe White's stats, because right after he put up the 7 points against OKC, right back at it, 28, 31, 37 points. Man's insane right now. Yeah, Kobe White, Josh Giddey be a lot of fun to see in the playoffs. But yeah, it's gonna be a blast, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be an absolute blast. I wanted to ask you one more thing, because we haven't done it in a little bit and we only got 4 games left. Your prediction for the next 4 games, Cone?
Undefeated.
I like unwavering confidence.
Yeah. I think we bounce back against the Lakers, grab a win. And then Suns at that point, I think, will be eliminated. They're not playing for anything. So I don't think KD's back. And so I think we kind of trounce them. And then Jazz Pelicans, those games are where we'll be resting guys. So maybe one of them comes out with a win. But I just don't think we're going to lose to the currently on a 9-game losing streak Utah Jazz, who have a grand total of 16 wins on the season. For some reason, people have not acknowledged how devastatingly bad the season has been for Utah.
Yeah.
They're been an all-time stinker of a year, which, they want Cooper Flag, so that's good. But yeah, it's been tough over there. Yeah, so it's literally the bottom 2 teams in the West that we finished the season against, and I think Aaron Wiggins 30-piece, J. Will comes back potentially triple-double on their heads,
triple-double, baby.
We end the season with that'll be 68 wins. Yeah, give me 68-14. We go on a 4-game losing streak, and all of a sudden, all the Doomers like, oh my god, we got some wins, we're good, and then we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, I predict we go 3-1. I'm just gonna leave some room for error there.
That's fair.
But I predict that Ousmane Dieng comes back for the last game to put up a master.
Give me a stat line prediction for last game. Last game, Ooze.
Last game, Ooze, I'm giving him 24, 7, and 4.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah, I would love it. It'd be a great icing on the cake for the season for Ousmane Dieng to do that before we go into serious basketball. So. But
hey man, Ooze triple-double for game 1 of the playoffs.
Hey, I love it. But with that being said, thank everybody for tuning in. I know, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. We've had some really high highs as Thunder fans, and you can call this a low. It's probably one of the lowest that we've been in the season in terms of losing. But when you, again, perspective, we lost Chet Holmgren for an extremely long amount of time this season.
If you think this is the lowest low, then we are so spoiled.
Yeah,
to lose to the 2 and 3 seeds in back-to-back games, and this is the lowest part of the season, man.
Yeah, in April basketball, but hey,
yeah, April losing twice while we're about 13 and a half games up on the 2 seed. Come on, y'all. Some of the stuff I'm seeing on the timeline when that's the case is absolutely nuts. Y'all, come on, guys.
Doomers.
We are so spoiled as Thunder fans. We are unbelievably spoiled with this season.
Well, hey, whether you're a bloomer or you're a doomer, we appreciate you guys being on the pod. Appreciate you guys being in the chat. If you're listening right now, or if you're watching retroactively, not posthumously, go ahead and like that video. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we go live. We'll be going live post game every game in the playoffs. I haven't talked to anybody about that. It's just happening. We're making it happen.
All right, brother.
Yeah. So, we'll be going live post game every game. Go ahead and comment down below who your favorite matchup is for the playoffs, and we will be back, I think, Tuesday. We'll probably be back Tuesday after the Lakers game, talking post game for that. Try to get back on schedule. We've got a little bit off schedule. Some people going through sickness. Some people had surgery. Nova had some sickness I was dealing with over the weekend. So
I've been sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been sick too, man. I haven't been the same since I got back from OKC in terms of breathing wise. So, but we're trying to get back on schedule, trying to get back in the swing of things, just to be completely knocked off schedule once the playoffs start. So, just bear with us, and hope everybody has a great night. God bless, hoop when you can, and as always, Thunder.